we may not get the water we need. Yeah.
A little bit about what Central Umbrella of Water and Sanitation does. But I'm also curious, what exactly do you do at Little Earth Soldiers? Give us a bit more context.
So it is a group of people. We are young children who are passionate for the climate, from the youngest to the oldest. And as Little Earth Soldiers and as part of the Youth Go Green Climate Academy, we do community outreach programs. We spread awareness to the schools and slums because we leave no one behind. We plant trees. We go teaching about climate change in the rural areas, visit disadvantaged places like Karamoja, and recently in Chitezi there was a landslide, so we go to those disadvantaged places. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess to our viewers, if you have a question from anything from what they say, feel free to send in your questions. We are live across all our social platforms. We're live on X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. So feel free to send in something because we want this conversation. It's a live text lounge. We want it to be as interactive as possible. So I'm going to go back to my guest. I'm going to jump right to it. I don't know if it's the tax woman in me, but we're going to go straight. And this is for the both of you. Why is it important to prioritize environmental conservation in Uganda's development agenda?
Yeah, thank you, modulator. It's good to prioritize the conservation of our environment, in that basically for natural sources to be conserved and for the community to live, people, animal to be there. There must be some sort of conservation. And for us in water sector, basically as the water cycle goes, we need to have trees, we need to have wetlands, so that at least we have rainfall, so that there is a cycle where water comes from the ground, goes up and comes back, because naturally water is neither created or destroyed. So it's the same water we have, and we have to see how best we can conserve it so that we use it for most of the activities we have in the water sector. But apart from water sector, there are also other activities like transport, there are other activities like agriculture that we need. So we have to conserve the environment so that all those around, and for human being to survive, we need to conserve it and see how best we can have our water resources.
Okay. So this is in our best interest. Looking after our environment is in our best interest, because if the environment fails us, if everything is falling apart, then we can't live, we can't do no more things like go to school, study, work, and just have a decent life.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about you, Little Earth Soldier? Why is it important to prioritize environmental conservation?
Well, when I come from the lenses of a child, it is our future. And the world that we're inheriting depends whether there will actually be life or to even hope for a future. So it is important to prioritize our environment because it's what we lean on. Okay, except from God, it's what we lean on, because when God entrusted us with it, He didn't entrust us to destroy it. So it's very important because to the lenses of that child, it is their everything, it is our everything. Yes.
Very well spoken. And still, to you, young climate activists, how do you believe children and youth can play a bigger role in raising awareness and taking action for the environment? So now we know that the environment is like super important for us. How do we make sure that we play that role in creating awareness?
Well, to all the children out there and to my fellow panelists and to the moderator, it starts with that simple love for our environment, that love for our home, that love for Mother Earth, because the moment we're exposed to knowledge, I always say that it's the stability of our days. When a young mind is fresh, everything you expose it to is what they do. So if you expose them to love, they will love. If you expose them to care for the environment, they will care for the environment. So when we care for the environment, it comes naturally. You find that you actually want not to use a plastic bottle, because you know that plastic takes over 400 years to degrade. And when you start on polythene bags, they take over 5,000 years to degrade, and they don't actually degrade, they photodegrade to microplastics, which release toxins, so they'll be there like forever. So, and that might even be even after the coming of Jesus. So you never know. So it starts by planting a tree in your compound. It starts by telling your mom that you actually want a water bottle, not a plastic bottle. It starts by asking your mom to get a shopping bag, and you find that in that simple way, you're not actually telling the people directly that you want to conserve the environment, but your actions are speaking louder than your words. And you find that if every child is doing this and every adult picks from this, you find that you don't actually need an advert to run that we should stop using polythene bags, because the industries or the factories or the makers, the producers, will actually see that there is no use and there is actually something new on market. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. That's very, for me, when you're sharing, the actions speak louder than words. You know, we could do all the talking we want, like, you know, on this panel and wherever, because there's a lot of talking happening. But if after the show we just decide to litter or to, it doesn't make any sense. So we start, you know, with the man in the mirror. If you do the right thing, somehow the next person is also going to pick it up, and it's like a ripple effect. I don't know, engineer, if you have anything to add in how to encourage different people to play a role in raising awareness and taking action for the environment. Okay, we put this word out.
Yeah, I agree with my sister here. This information, we have to talk to the community, we have to talk to everyone, the young, the old, and see how best we can conserve the environment. But also, I have to look at the government, the policies.
Okay.
What policies is the government putting in place to see that the environment is protected? Policies that sometimes, our government has some good policies, but also it goes on implementation. Are we implementing the policies which are in place? That's number one. But all in all, it starts with us, we. Even if no one is looking at me, I shouldn't throw the bottle, I shouldn't litter the caveras around. It starts with me and you. So all the people out there, let's see how best we can conserve the environment by putting it in our mind that yes, the environment concerns all of us. It doesn't concern Ministry of Water and Environment. It doesn't belong to the government. It's part of us. If when floods come, they don't discriminate. When it's hot, doesn't discriminate. So it starts with all of us. We have to wake up and see how best we can conserve the environment, but it should be in us as an individual.
Yeah, it's an individual effort. It starts with it. Okay, and you know, you talked about, you know, when floods come, they do not discriminate and things like that, and we are seeing this very alive in the few weeks. And as central umbrella for water and sanitation, can you elaborate on the role that you have played in the role of water conservation in climate mitigation, and share any initiatives that your organization has undertaken to promote sustainable water use?
Yeah. Central umbrella, the way I said, is under Ministry of Water and Environment. So there is a lot that's being done under Ministry of Water and Environment. But I will now go down to, because you have the Environmental Department, you have climate change, all that under Ministry of Water. But under Central umbrella, which is mandated to do operation and maintenance of water supply systems in Central region of Uganda, we have done some initiatives to see how best we can do climate change mitigation measures. So under those, we do get water like from boreholes. We get water from rivers. We get water from lakes. But what technology are we using? So the technologies of getting water from the borehole You can use either generator to pump water. You can use grid, that's the usual power of ours, hydroelectric power, or you can use solar. So we have tried to mitigate by using solar, encouraging, because as now I speak, out of 84 schemes we are managing, almost half, that's 40 schemes, are using solar. So we are not using generators to pollute the environment. We are using solar energy to pump out the water from the ground so that we supply water, safe water to the community. That's one mitigation measure we are doing. Again, we are doing tree planting where we have our water sources, because a water source is in a catchment area. So what we do, we gazette off the place where the water source is, and we do water friendly trees, so that at least there is a recharge in the ground water. We avoid having eucalyptus within our water sources.
Oh, okay.
Because
so eucalyptus is not like a good choice.
From what we have heard, where eucalyptus has been, they have said it has affected water resources. But I think more studies are coming up to see at what rate. At what rate is it affecting? Is it after 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? So that the actual research comes out, we know the impact. But as now, we know that at least where we have eucalyptus trees, at least the few water resources around the springs have dried. So we try to avoid such a trees, and we plant water friendly trees like, I think, Coriandra. That's what one which I can remember, but there are many species which we plant around the water sources so that at least we do the conservation. In a central umbrella, we do education training in schools because we deal with water users, churches, schools, and individuals. So we have promotional campaigns at churches, at schools, where we encourage people to conserve water. And that conservation of water now means that let's minimize wastage of water. The more you waste water, the more we are finished. The water resource is almost like a fixed resource. So as little as it is, let's use it minimally so that at least we can have more and more for the next day.
Okay. Yeah. And even like at home, how can I conserve my water? Like, what are those small things someone can do at home to make sure that, they're respecting the resource that water is?
That's a good one. Yeah, at home, we encourage, in water business, we give monthly bills. So when the bill is high, someone will not pay. So it's our role to encourage people to use minimum water so that there's no wastage. Number one, we normally say if you are not at home, at least have that tap. We normally call it a yard tap at home. Close it so that people don't play, kids don't play, so that there is some water coming out. So we normally advise people to close those taps. Two, we encourage people to avoid a leaking tap. In a home, if you have a drop of water coming out in 24 hours, you may waste like 20 liters a jerrycan.
Wow. And yet, when it's just dropping, you're like,
it's just like a drop. It's just like a drop. So we encourage that drop counts. Every drop counts. So we encourage people at home to see how best they can. Better replace a tap with a drop at 15,000 a tap, rather than saying because at the end of the month the bill will come and you may find the money you've not paid for the tap, you are paying it on the water bill. So also another thing at home we advise is people to have maybe small tanks at the roof, so that there is at least some bit of storage in the tank, so that when you have some bit of water storage in the tank, there is a way how the pressure in the line, when you have a tank at home, there is a reduced pressure. So you don't have a lot of breakdowns. But when you don't have a tank, you may find that there is the line where water comes from has a lot of pressure. So as water goes into the tank, the pressure almost goes back to zero. So you are on the pressure of the tank, so that there is no, if the pressure is too much, the breakdown is high. So the leakages are more. So better have
balances out the pressure.
Balances the pressure so that you have a minimum pressure, because the tank is on top of your roof. That water, the pressure is enough for the whole house. So those are some of the tips we advise, but most especially to control the water wastage at home. Another tip is on taps we use. we normally advise, let's go for push taps.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tap push taps where you push, water comes. After
Really?
less than a minute, it goes out.
Oh, okay.
That's one way of how, because you find sometimes if someone is brushing, you open a tap, you put a toothpaste, you put on water is going, you brush, you find that you are wasting a lot of water. So those are small tips which we try to encourage people to use at home so that there's a minimum water wastage and water bills don't go high and the customers become our friends. Because the moment the bill go high, they are complaining. You are cheating us. Me, I'm one person at home. How do I use 20 liters in a month? You people, your things are not working. But when you explain, you see when you are not here. Then also you have another challenge of the maids at home selling water to the neighbors. Yeah, you live at home, but you find when your neighbors don't have water, you find the person you have left at home is getting 20 liter jerry can and making some customer income. So customer income for that person. So you find at the end of the month the bill goes high and you wonder we are two people at home. We don't have a kid, we don't have a wife. But you don't remember that there's a person maybe who's giving out two jerry cans, 3 jerry cans per day. So at the end of the month the bill. So we try to advise that if you have such a situation, you use 20 liter jerry can in a day. Fetch it, give it to her, then close your tap. Maybe 2 jerry cans. So you find that she will use whatever is there. So those are small measures we try to advise people at home so that
Hands in hand, thank you so much, engineer. And I think it works at home, but also like at the workplace. For example, here at URA, it's like 19 floors, and that's a lot of water being used. But unless we have the push stops, unless we got that right.
That's good.
Yeah, and the rest, it's thank you. And little soldier, where that's stuck, Grace. How can kids conserve water? What tips would you share with them? Like, what are those small things that kids can do? Because kids are also the leading, wasters of water. I'd imagine they play with it and they will go. What would you tell a kid watching?
Well, like I said, a fresh mind takes in whatever you teach them. If a child is only 4 years old and you tell them that, look, when you're brushing your teeth, you put the toothpaste, rinse your brush, turn off the water. Step by step, you tell them, now brush, now turn it on, now rinse your mouth, now turn it off, now rinse the brush, now turn it off, now wash your brush and then put it in. You find that they know a regular routine. Like they know how to conserve it. Or when they're washing their clothes, I've noticed that some of those children who you mostly find in the slums, they do not have a trough. So she or he opens the tap and then washes from the tap and then rinses from the tap and then dries from the tap as the water is going. Or when they're washing their feet and their shoes, they just let the water flow, and then as they're scrubbing their legs, the water is flowing and they think they're actually rinsing. And you find that most parents teach them when they're already old, like at 11, like me, or 10, and you find that it's already hard for them to adjust. Yeah. So to all the children, I would say that take time, take a look at it from a personal space. If I'm to bring it out from a child's level who likes candy, you tell them that, okay, so this is it. If you do not waste water, I'll actually give you this. If you do not waste water, and you actually do keep your promise until you say that now you've actually grown, you know what to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually really helpful, especially the one about like people washing their clothes and they're just washing straight from the tap. Yeah, I mean that's common. I've probably done it in the past, but okay. Thanks. I'll take that tip. Okay. We'll go back to the engineer, and this is just focusing on protecting our environment. It's not a one-man. You can't do it alone. You can't just do it as a ministry. You can't just, even as you are. I mean, we can't. No one can do anything on their own. So, what opportunities do you see for collaboration between organizations like yours, like a ministry, and what opportunities for collaboration you see between your organization and, let's say, with URA and other partners?
Thank you. As I started with, this water conservation thing is not a one-man person issue. It's a total combination of all people. So everyone should be concerned to see how best we can conserve the environment. On this one, maybe I bring up that organizations like URA, Bank of Uganda, any other relevant organization, it is always good that we come up together, have these talks, have trainings together. Then we support each other. Like when we have a workshop, it shouldn't be a workshop about water only. It should come maybe talk about taxes. When we are talking about taxes, they will understand. Like today now, it's URA, but it's talking about environment. So me, I think there should be more collaboration, most especially on the trainings we do, most especially on workshops we have, and we see how best we can come up together. Maybe also on budgeting and work plans. Do we look at a wider area so that we bring up different stakeholders so that we see if I have a train, if I have a workshop, how can I have UNRWA, how can I have URA, how can I have all relevant authorities, most especially government agencies on board so that we have this message shared across, even on the flyers, on your website. Let's share. These are agencies that are all supporting government programs. So let's work together. We call upon you, so you call upon us, that we come and have this message that goes out to everyone so that people can understand it more, so that they don't think it's a ministry thing. They don't think like, for example, taxes. It shouldn't be URA. No, it should be because Central Umbrella is supported by government, and the government uses tax money to give us money to do water extensions. So if you don't collect taxes, we shall not get money to do extensions and give what more people safe water. So it's all around. That's why I say let's work together in all meetings, workshops, and even end of year parties. Don't forget to call us.
We have one.
Thank you.
Okay. But also, when you were sharing, I was curious about what are some of. Do you have examples of campaigns that you partnered with? Not just as Central Umbrella of Water and Sanitation. Do you have campaigns you've partnered with other organizations that have been successful in the past that you can share with us? It could be campaigns. It could be anything really that you've done with other partners.
Yeah, we have had different partners with most especially the districts where we are working with, local government districts. And basically this has been coming in tree planting in respective districts. During the water week, we normally have a campaign of walking. We walk from either Fort Portal, different areas, or Guru to Kampala, but mainly we are working with the districts in tree planting and see how best we can have the environment conserved. Yeah.
And I think that has been it's very effective, because sometimes you say this is just for Kampala, Central Umbrella Water.
Central Umbrella is in 26 districts.
26 districts.
Yes, including the Kampala is national water. We are not there, but Wakiso and the surroundings up to Lisa. Yeah.
Okay. And recently, because I'm from Kochara, I was watching TV, and the government is also trying to help. They provide trees because to help this to preserve like the water and things like that, which is nice. And you can't do this when you're not like partnering with other people, because sometimes you don't reach you're not like water, you don't reach everywhere, but somehow the partnerships help. Even for URA, we worked with Fair Ventures last taxpayer appreciation season. We gave out trees to our taxpayers. So when we had the award day, everyone who came for the award left with like a tree. It was very nice. People were so excited. They left with a fruit tree, and our taxpayers, felt that it was a good gift. And also staff, we had a campaign where we gave out fruit trees and stuff like that, which was thank you. We're not all bad. Okay, how about you, my lovely Grace? How has Little Earth Soldiers collaborated with other organizations and other partners in the work that you do, and how has that been for you?
Well, first of all, I would start by saying that it hasn't all been easy because people are, not all, but people are actually more into the youth-led movement and not the children-led movement. So you find that even most of the work that we have done has been without fund. When we were in this when we're traveling to Kenya, you find that we're over like 15 soldiers on a bus. When we're traveling to, you find when we're traveling to Rwanda, it was still us because we were actually so eager for the climate crisis. We were so into it. We were willing to start on our own with the support of our parents, and it takes a quick move. Though I would also like to thank the government for doing such a great work. It's not like all children movements are nowhere, but there's still a very big gap. And yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And how does a child out there become a little soldier?
Well, being a little art soldier doesn't actually need you to be where I am or where we are. It just takes little actions because a little art soldier is not our group. You are little and an art soldier. And everyone is little in the sight of God. So it starts by planting a tree. It starts by using the tips that he has said, engineer has said. It starts by those simple actions, by love, and then you're a little soldier or a big one.
Okay. Okay. Everyone is little in the eyes of God. I'm keeping that. And engineer, have you faced any challenges in this? Now, she shared some of the challenges as well. First, have you faced any challenges in this, like building the stakeholder relations and collaborating?
Yeah. As you know, the implementation of some of the government programs challenges can't fail to get some, but mainly in under this climate change conservation, the challenges are attitude. Attitude. People have, it hasn't yet sunk into people's mind. Someone hasn't started believing that the tree can be of helpful. I think people are still looking at short-term things, and the science of a tree, a wetland, like where I come from Kabale. So people telling them to leave the wetlands where we are digging Irish, that now the place, the weather, the climate, the weather had changed. So people were all the valleys where they had planted Irish, but thanks to the government of Uganda, people have got out of the valleys. So there is a big challenge of attitude, people to believe, but most especially, I can't say the local people, even the big people have seen their buildings when they are in the water, when the Lake Victoria, the waters rose. So the attitude, people to understand and that know that this thing is not a government, water conservation is not a government thing, it's something that concerns all of us. And how best can someone maybe take an initiative and say, yes, this is a wetland, let me not feed it. This is a wetland, let me not dry it. That's one issue. Then again, there's a challenge also of budgeting. As we are looking how to extend water, safe water, we find that we have a little budget of around 5%. So we still have a limitation on budget because yes, we do the basics of planting trees and fencing off, but what are we doing to the neighborhood? Maybe I can also bring it about like the challenges we are having. We are talking about side of water, but there's also sanitation. Sanitation also, we have found that if sanitation is not well conserved, it can affect the environment. So recently, the government of Uganda also got a loan from Korea, where we are doing a fecal sludge treatment in Busukuma, so that at least the wastes can be collected, treated, and go back to him. So if we don't get that financial support, the loans, the what, we may find even ourselves, as we promote everyone to have water, but where the waste go? Because each one getting water will have a toilet, will have a flush toilet, will have what. So you may find that as I'm giving people water, I'm also promoting waste being also again put into the environment. So the government is coming in, but also the government is getting loans. So the financial part, but good enough. That's why I'm saying that recently we are doing a 12 billion project in Bisukuma with a loan from the Korean government. So finances, we need to look for, if we can't finance ourselves internally, we can borrow and see how best we can do some of the big projects and maybe do the conservation. But basically a big challenge is people's attitude. How do people come to learn that this one has a big effect on our environment or on our climate?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, engineer. And when you're talking about the need for funding, at taxpayers, see why we're always asking for money because we need this money to fund and support such projects and to build a better Uganda. Building a better Uganda is economic, but it's also social and making sure we have like good clean water and things like that. So we talked about how to conserve water, but I think we neglected sanitation a bit. So how do people at home ensure that that the sanitation is up there? Like they keep the sanitation, everything is clean and things like that. Just share some tips because inevitably it affects the water, like you said.
Yeah, thank you. Water goes with sanitation, but
Sometimes you can forget.
people always go with water, but
water.
where there is water, sanitation should be part of it. Otherwise, if we forget sanitation and we go with water, we may cause more harm than good. That happened somewhere where people got water and everyone had a flush toilet. People didn't have septic tanks. So everything was going back into the environment. So all of a sudden we found the water quality has changed because we do monthly water quality testing. So we found people we had given water, we are discharging the waste again. They were up and our source was down. So they were contaminating. So as we give out water, we also look at the part of sanitation. So basically how we are promoting sanitation at individual households, we are saying let's have lined pit latrines, so that we are trying to avoid these normal traditional pit latrines where people dig and you find that everything goes down and spreads and goes into it. But when it's a lined pit latrine, anytime you can come and empty it. That's why we're having a Busukuma treatment, so that whoever has a lined pit latrine, whoever has a septic tank, it can be emptied. But without that one, we can, it's a challenge. We're also promoting eco-san toilets. Have you heard of eco-san toilet? Ecological sanitation is toilets which we call dry toilets. When someone goes to use it, it separates urine and feces. So when they are separated after use and cleansing, you put ash. So ash helps in drying. Urine is separated, so the other one comes up like in a hill form, like a termite hill. It dries up. We have a black sheet behind, metallic sheet. When the sun is hitting the metallic sheet, there's a way how it helps it to dry. After 6 months, it has 2 chambers. You use one side and another side. After 6 months, you can come and use that one as manure. The urine also can be collected and can be diluted with water, and also can be used as a pesticide, and also can be used in gardens. Okay. So that's an ecological sanitation toilet which are trying to promote, and basically it's what we say people in waterlogged areas should use, because you can't dig. As you go down, you find that you can't, and we know there's no home without ash. At least as you cook, you do, or else you are using gas, but maybe you have a septic tank. So we know you can balance. If you are saying that's an eco-san is a traditional improved pit latrine, but where the waste is collected and used. So we will try to promote recycle and use of the waste. That's on part of sanitation, basically.
Okay, that's a good one. I've definitely learned something there. And how about you, Grace? How can you encourage, children or people watching at home to just make sure that the sanitation is on point?
Well, thank you so much for that question. most of us know, or some of us know, that cleanliness is next to godliness, and it starts by responsibility. Seriously, if you know that you'll get infected by not being clean, why not take those simple lessons? Why be too proud, I might say, to learn because you feel you know already a lot and you feel like you do not want to learn? So it takes from that place of humility and responsibility. It's our right, as it's a children's right, to live in a clean and safe environment. Thank you.
Don't be too proud to learn something new, and also be responsible.
Yeah.
I think that comes out of that. We really just have to be responsible at the end of the day. Okay, so we have some questions that have come in from the socials. Cheryl Dickens from LinkedIn is saying, thanks for the show, but how is the water storage be sustainable to the rural areas in Uganda? He's asking about water. Okay, did you get the question? How is the water storage sustainable to the rural areas in Uganda?
Maybe if I can explain, I don't know on storage, but we encourage each and every home to have at least a small plastic tank, so that one, we have challenges of power, because I told you sometimes we pump water, so that even power goes off, you have water for 1 or 2 days, so that at least you can have water to use at home. So we encourage, depending on the size of a home, to see how best you can have at least a small storage tank in your home, so that at least you are assured of 24 supply of safe and clean water into your home.
Okay, so that's one way. Make sure
it's an individual thing, because we don't enforce. It's an individual. We encourage to have at least a storage tank at home.
Okay. Yes. And make sure you prioritize. Okay. So I'm just checking for just a bit more questions, but I have my own personal question.
Okay.
So like I said, I come from Achon. So what happens is we have a national water thing. So I've always wondered, I know the water is for us to use and all, but does that sometimes affect the pressure of on the falls and things like that? Like when the water is tapped and it's spread out to people's homes and all of that. Is there an effect on the ecosystem somehow? Because then the pressure is reduced and things like that. And if there is, how does government support, to make sure that it's not that big of like an effect on the environment?
Thank you for the good question and the concern. Yeah, it's true, it affects, but in our engineering design for water supply systems, you are supposed to not extract more than 70% of what is existing. Those are rivers, those are lakes, and maybe falls. Reason being, there is flora and fauna downstream, and there are also some other people are using part of the water downstream. So you are not supposed to extract everything. You have to extract part of it to use for human consumption, as you also leave part flow downstream for the plants and animals. So the impact is there, but that is not so much, because there is a limit that you can't extract everything on the stream or on the river.
That's very thank you. Still, Dickens's question, I think I hadn't captured it well, because he has re-typed saying, how can the water storage ideology that you're sharing can be adopted by people in Karamoja, since you know that there's water scarcity in that region? I think, there's a special, like people in Karamoja, people in drier areas, how do we make sure that they always have water, because the rain is not coming all year round. So how do we support such people in, semi-arid areas to make sure that they always have water?
I think it's a good question, but on people who are, I think it's meaning people are up in the mountains, maybe because water flows going downwards. People who are down, but with the gravity flow system, we tap water from the falls, treat it. After treating, then we give it to the community. People who are up in the mountains, we trap water, treat it, then use either grid power or solar or generator, depending on what it is, but generator is the worst case scenario because now it will be about the smoke and the what, even the cost itself using a generator, the cost goes high because the fuel, because a little fuel fluctuates and also going. So we avoid, but for the worst case scenario, we do use fuel, we use a generator, but we normally get water from the lake or from the falls, treat it. After treating it, we pump it up, then we gravitate to the communities there. So I think the government has already done some schemes there in Swam. I think there are many schemes at least have worked on in Captura area, and we may not extend water to everyone, but I think some of the people, either down or up, are benefiting from the water supply system.
That's true.
Yeah.
But also, there's a question for Karamoja region.
Yeah, Karamoja region is they don't have lakes, they don't have rivers. Basically, they are using pumps. We are drilling groundwater, putting it in the tanks and giving it to the community. So in Karamoja, basically what we are doing is drilling using groundwater and putting it in the pump. You first treat it, then you give it to the community. Yeah.
All right. We don't have any more questions coming in online. So at this point, I'll invite Grace to share your parting shots. What is the last thing you want the kids or grown-ups watching to stay with?
Well, to all the children and to all the grown-ups, every single or what you would call a small act means a lot to the earth. It does need you, and if you want to be a little earth soldier, you can start with those little small acts. Plant a tree. Tell mom you want, or dad that you want a reusable bottle, that you want a shopping bag, that you want something reusable, that you know what it impacts. And to the parents out there, we need to invest in knowledge because you can't give us what you do not have. So let us invest in knowledge. And also I would like to thank all the parents out there who have taken the initiatives to support their children, mom, dad, and ma. I know it's a bit confusing, but there are two moms. Yeah. You won't understand, but there are two. Not the other way, but there are two. So, mom, and daddy, I thank you so much. Mr. Stewart, Mrs. Fiona, and Miss Linda. I thank you for, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. And also to the Youth and Children Climate Academy, I thank you, Mr. Edwin and Mr. Dickens, for believing in the young children's voices, and also to URA for hosting us here.
Oh, thank you. And to you, engineer, what's that last tip you want our taxpayers to take on?
Yeah, for the taxpayers outside there and water consumers, because water consumers, taxpayers, they are the same. So for you, I would encourage, basically, when you see a pipe leaking or along the road, to see how best you communicate. If you see there is a leakage, because a leakage causes non-revenue water. Non-revenue water is water which the money is put in, is pumped, but we don't get money from it. So when we don't get money from the non-revenue water, URA will not claim because we have not built that water. So URA will not get a tax from it. So the money for government will reduce. So if you see any leakage along the road, even if you are getting water to your home, please make sure you report to either it's National Water or to any umbrella authority, wherever you are, because it matters. That's where the water we supply, where we get income, where we get taxes, so that we can extend and have more water to the people who don't have water, for the communities we have. And I encourage the ministry and the government to continue supporting water extensions and environmental conservation plans, because without conserving the environment, we have the water resources reduced. We have areas where we have found that we have the borehole with high yield, but because the environment was not well conserved, it has reduced. The communities are no longer getting water, not because the government is bad, not because URA is overtaxing you, but because we have misused our environment. So It's something that I can say that let's come up together. When you see the government coming to enforce environmental policies, let's not be even enforced. Let's be the one take initiative and say, yes, let's leave this part and we see how best we can protect the environment. To the water users, each drop in your home counts. Please make sure that you control water wastage at your home. Even you'll become rich because your water bills will go low. You'll have a saving. You'll have some money for you because the water bills will not spend a lot on water bills. That's the information I can give to them. URA, thank you for hosting Central Umbrella of Water and Sanitation. We are glad to be here and we are always wishing to come and share more and more in this water and environment and sanitation so that we see how the communities can understand, get the knowledge. Education, knowledge is key, each and everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Engineer. Something else?
Okay, so my question goes to engineer.
Yeah.
So what if I'm not actually using that water? Is there any sort of bill or?
Yeah, if which water? The one which drips?
No.
The one which leaks along the road?
No. The one that I've paid for, what if I don't actually use it?
When you don't use water, you don't bill, but there is like a small monthly charge that can come because there's someone who comes to see that the meter reading is zero. So we have to maintain. So there's like a small charge which sometimes is there for you to keep knowing that you are in the system. But if you want to go out of the country, like I will not be here for 6 months, you come to our offices, you write, say I will not be around, so I don't expect any charges. Then we shall write it and no, you are not around, we shall not bill you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That also, I didn't know you can do that.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I thank you, Engineer. Thank you, Grace, for making the time to come here to URA and share your wisdom and your knowledge so generously. I'm sure our taxpayers / water consumers have learned something, this morning, and I have learned a lot. So thank you. And they say any day you learn something new is a good day. And to our taxpayers, our water consumers, please go out there and be ambassadors for the environment. Make sure you close that tap. When you're brushing your teeth, close that tap and be responsible. And when we're responsible, we'll work towards a better environment for not just ourselves, but for our children and our children's children. So thank you. Look forward to having you again next Thursday for another Doors of the URA Green Gang Chat. And we hope to have you guys on for a bunch of more episodes. So thank you. And to the team behind the scenes, Frank and Gabriel and Rabiba, thank you for supporting us and making this happen. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.